a warm welcome to our distinguished ministers and chiefs of defense. Thank you for joining us virtually at today's second Ukraine Defense Contact Group. I'm Laura Cooper, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Russia, Ukraine, Eurasia, and I will serve as today's MC for the contact group. We will begin with presentations by Ukrainian and U.S. military leadership on the situation on the ground. Session 1 will begin with a battlefield update on the current fight, how Ukraine is leveraging international donations, and Ukraine's immediate combat requirements. We will next turn to participating ministers in Session 2, who will announce progress made on donations. Following donations announcements, we will focus Session 3 on capabilities and coordination with a review of how we are meeting Ukraine's priority requirements, an overview of the International Deconfliction and Coordination Cell, and updates by ministers. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Alexei Reznikov, for joining us virtually today from Ukraine with his team. We appreciate your presence and are looking forward to hearing your thoughts here shortly. On an administrative note, before we begin, I would like to note some best practices for our Zoom call. Please mute yourself unless you are slated to present. That's a good cue. Please do mute yourself. Also, please remember that this is a private Zoom link and recordings are not permitted. Please allow me now to introduce Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to deliver opening remarks. Mr. Secretary.
Thanks, Laura. In Austria, I think your mic's hot, so if you could please mute yourself, we'd be better off. Austria?
Yes, hello, nice to hear your best wishes from Vienna. We are online.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone here today. And thank you all for joining us for the second meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. This gathering is virtual, but our efforts together are making a very concrete difference on the battlefield. We're all here today because of the extraordinary valor and resilience of Ukraine's soldiers and citizens. And for 3 months, Ukraine has been fighting with grit and tactical ingenuity against an entirely unprovoked invasion by its far larger neighbor. And we're here to help Ukraine for the long haul. Ukraine has already scored a historic victory in the Battle of Kyiv. So Putin has changed the focus of his war of choice to a renewed land grab in the east and the south. But in this new phase, Ukraine is fighting just as hard and just as well. Ukrainian armed forces are skillfully using systems both old and new. They've stalled Russia's offensive in the east and continue to seize the initiative. And throughout, Ukraine has shown the world the military and moral power of a free people coming together to defend their democracy from aggression and atrocities. So I'm especially honored that we are joined again by my dear friend, Ukrainian Minister of Defense, Alexei Reznikov. And let me also warmly welcome the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine's Armed Forces. And I'm glad to have Ukraine's Defense Intelligence representative here with us as well. My friends, we've got your back, all of us. And President Zelensky and Ukraine's leaders have made history. And your forces have inspired the free world with their courage and skill. Now, Minister Reznikov and I have been in close and frequent touch about the evolving situation on the battlefield. And we've been working intensely together to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself, from howitzers with ammunition to UAVs and Mi-17 helicopters. We've also provided counter-artillery radars and electronic jamming equipment. And we're hoping to train Ukrainian forces on many new capabilities. I know that everyone here shares that sense of urgency. We all understand that Russian aggression poses, the threat that Russian aggression poses to European security. and to the rules-based international order that keeps us all secure. Ukraine's cause has rallied the free world. Since Russia's invasion on the 24th of February, more than 40 of our allies and partners from around the globe have stepped up to provide critical security assistance to help Ukraine defend itself. And today, we're honored to have defense leaders from 44 countries with us, as well as representatives from NATO and the EU. I'm especially pleased to have several new countries joining us for this meeting of the contact group, including Austria and Bosnia-Herzegovina, Colombia, Ireland, and Kosovo. Now, I'm very encouraged by the progress that we've made together since we gathered at Ramstein Air Base 4 weeks ago. And let me highlight just a few outstanding efforts. At Ramstein, Australia and Canada committed to providing M777 howitzers. And in just 4 weeks, all those systems have been delivered to the Ukrainians. The UK delivered Brimstone missiles and a new short-range air defense system. And many more countries have pushed hard to stand up important new training missions. And we've watched these efforts make a real difference in real time. Now, as Ukraine's fight continues, our efforts must intensify and we must all plan for the challenges ahead. The Ukrainian armed forces will need our sustained support. The United States is committed to standing with Ukraine over the long term, and that's why President Biden recently signed a $40 billion funding bill to help Ukraine. The additional defense resources in the bill will help us to send Ukraine even more artillery and armored vehicles and ammunition. Since the start of President Biden's administration, we have committed some $4.6 billion in security assistance to Ukraine, including some $3.9 billion since Russia's unjust invasion began. And President Biden announced last Thursday that he has authorized another presidential drawdown of security assistance for Ukraine, valued up to an additional $100 million. And that will help ensure that U.S. assistance to Ukraine continues to flow without interruption. This latest package will help Ukraine meet critical needs for today's fight, including 18 more howitzers, 18 tactical vehicles to tow them, counter-artillery radars, field equipment, and urgently needed spare parts. So the United States will continue to do our part, and I'd welcome the opportunity to hear from you today on your current contributions of security assistance and pledges to do even more. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to do together. And that's just how we'll move forward, together. So here's our agenda today. As you've heard Secretary Cooper mention earlier, we'll sharpen our collective understanding of the battlefield conditions and Ukraine's priority requirements. We'll increase transparency and coordination in all directions by sharing information on Ukraine's needs and your donations. We'll deepen accountability for security assistance provided to Ukraine, and we'll discuss how we can strengthen and modernize the Ukrainian armed forces for the long haul to help ensure that they can deter aggression in the future. I look forward to doing even more together to help Ukraine defend itself and to reinforce an international order rooted in the rule of law. And thank you for all that you're doing. I'm honored to be here with all of you, and I look forward to getting real results at this moment of crisis. Again, thanks to everyone. And we'll pause just a minute while we allow the media to exit.